on there, Dustin?
Not much. I
Man,
beat you to it. Beat you to it.
you did beat me to it today. That's very good. I'll let everybody kind of jump in, and I think a lot of people probably know the routine now as far as what we like
Oh,
for everybody to do.
but in
But
case they don't,
hashtag 10K Crappie Connection. The good thing is we're 120 people away from hitting the 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so we're very close. And what will be fun about this is we can actually come up and think of a new hashtag once we
oh,
hit that
oh,
10K Crappie Connection. And we're right there at it, everybody. Definitely appreciate everybody for hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube side of things. Pat Robbins, Holden, Charles, Andrew Carpenter. There's some of our hardcore Crappie Connection crew guys. Tony Steen,
yeah, Pat
Nathan.
Robbins.
Man, appreciate you guys from jumping on here and hitting that 10K Crappie Connection. It definitely helps out. So we'll get some fun stuff. And I got actually a really cool surprise for you guys tonight that I think a lot of guys will want to jump on this little special offer, I guess you would say, I
Oh,
got
yes.
today for you guys. Kind of like a pre Black Friday deal. And we'll touch base on that in a little bit later. So you definitely want to stay tuned and make sure you get on that. Hey, I even see our buddy Chad Rogers on tonight.
Oh my goodness, there he is, Chad. We missed you last week, brother. We missed you.
Chad Rogers
Josh
is,
Bower, my man.
yep, we got Roadhouse, got an open water mic.
We got them all going
There's
on.
Dalco.
Josh Bower is going to have a good fishing report for us this week. I got a feeling. I think he sent me a 290. He caught a 290 last weekend.
What?
Yeah.
Black crappie, white crappie?
White crappie. I bet
think I did see that.
I don't know what he. I think he caught it Saturday or Sunday, but yeah, he caught a 290, and I don't know what he caught after that, but he's been beating him up on a lake in Kansas, over 15 pounds a day on 7 fish. So
That's
that's a
pretty
heck of
good deal there. Got
a.
Jeff, got James, got
He's
Dean,
after that. He's after that
Houston,
3-pounder.
Working Man, Rod. Appreciate everybody jumping on again tonight. Today's bite special. Thank you to Bobby Garland Baits for doing today's bite with the Crappie Connection for Dustin and I. Without those guys, it wouldn't be all possible. So definitely thank those guys for supporting the Crappie Connection. Today's bite shows live broadcast every week. It makes the world turn, I guess you would say.
Without them, I'm not sure if I could pull this mustache as good as I do.
You probably couldn't. I mean, you know. Congratulations to Dustin, man. Tell us about this buck you killed last year.
Yes, man, I did. I finally killed a big one. I said if I was still rocking the stash, which I just ain't had time to shave. I'm still working on this dang house and doing all kinds of stuff. But I did. I had an amazing, successful trip. It was cut a little short, just things going on at home, running on time, people in the hospital and everything. But last minute, the last day, we were going to pack up, and we had set some trail cameras out. And we were going to pick the trail cameras up, and I seen that sucker, made a stalk on him, and killed him the day we were coming home. So crazy ordeal. Cleaned him up and come home. But he was a nice, heavy, big, mature mule deer. It was a blast. He was in the middle of the herd. He was the herd bull, and he was actually breeding a doe. So I let him finish and get that doe bred. That way I'd come in a couple of years and there'd be another one like him.
Man, he was a stud. What was the measurements on that big old dude?
He was 180 inches on the dot, so he was a dandy.
Good gracious!
Yeah,
and, you know, we're not quite to 10,000.
Big buck Dusty instead of big fish Dusty. Big buck Dusty.
Hey, big muley Dusty there.
Yeah.
We're not quite to 10,000 guys. We're 120 subscribers away from hitting the 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we're like just needle close to that deal. Somebody else asked if I would jump in the lake, and you know, maybe for 100,000 subscribers, 10,000, we'll get Dustin to shave his mustache. How about that?
Listen, I would jump in the lake. If we get to 10,000, I may jump in the lake. But you guys have to get to 10,000 before December, or I don't know if I'm going to jump in the lake.
I think we'll get to 10,000 before December. I'll be honest.
I hope so.
Now I don't know. Like I said, 100,000, we might talk some business there, but
Oh, come on, 100,000. 10.
Man,
I'm proud.
I'm
proud
getting
of
older
10.
than you, dude.
Okay.
I gotta look out for my health. I'm just now getting back over COVID and all. I gotta get, I gotta stay strong.
Come on now.
I see Rick, Scott, Ginger, Swamp Rat, Ken. I can't go on and on about everybody joining in tonight. Thank you
Did you say you
guys.
seen Ken on here?
Not Ken.
Oh, Robertson.
Probably, no.
Okay,
Evan, Junebug. I mean, there's Joe.
Ken, I'm gonna hit you up and tell you if you're watching this. I'm gonna call you after the show, get it planned for tomorrow. Me and Ken are gonna be going and hitting up Grand tomorrow with a buddy of his, and hopefully we'll find them November crappie we're about to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I'm going down the list here, but I know a real cool subject line, and I thought about this week's title is trying to find these crappie in the month of November, and things are changing up. Water temperatures starting to get a little bit cooler. The actual guide trip I did yesterday was with one of my regular clients that's just wanting to become a better crappie fisherman, and he just said, "Hey, I want to see how you actually find fish this month," and that's kind of what I wanted to bring up tonight is how do you find fish in the month of November, and what are some of the things that I'm looking for whenever I'm going out looking for fish this month. And actually, I went to an oxbow lake down the road and kind of concentrated on the deeper portions of this lake. And that's normally what I do in the months of November and December, what we're in right now, is I'm gonna look for the deeper portions of the lake, some kind of river system, the deeper creeks. And like the old saying is, you look for the bait fish and you're gonna find fish. Now, one of the things that I try to do nowadays, especially using live sonar, is I'm gonna look on the outskirts of those big concentrations of fish. Or shad rather. If I find a big area of shad, I'm really going to look for that outskirts section of the big schools of shad. So that's one of my tips, I guess you would say, whenever it comes to looking for November crappie, is look for the deeper portions of the lakes, whether it be your river channels, your creeks coming into the lake, or just those deep water flats. If it doesn't have a lot of contours in it, the main dam area of the lake, I think of Enid and Sardis, and always for me in this time of the month is going to be down by the dam, and those deeper portions going to be a really productive area for me to go ahead and try. But also, I'm going to hear from Dustin. He's going out fishing this week, so he's going to find some November fish.
Yeah, and it's been a while too. Like I said, I've had all this going on and been hunting, so it's time to get back after it. And I'd imagine that the fish have changed completely. So I guess I kind of set, when I go to a lake like this, like Grand, I set kind of a list of places I'm going to check, like a list of ideas. They should be doing like one of these three things, So I'm going to go first to deep structure and see if the fish are sitting on structure. If they're completely empty on it, I'm going to go try to find the bait fish around the channel and see if they're suspended. If they're not out in the channel suspended, I'm going to move up the creeks a little bit and kind of look the same thing. So I got three different plans, and you just start one and you start executing all these ideas because they got to be somewhere. So
they're somewhere.
You just kind of say, okay, I'm going to check these three different deals, and I got a depth range around 30 to 60 foot, and I'm going to be bouncing around that probably all morning tomorrow. We'll go. I don't know how long we'll be out, but hopefully we'll find a good mess and have a good time tomorrow. But I will have an update next Tuesday how we did. Maybe tomorrow on my guide page we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
if we do bad, you probably won't see anything.
It's hard to. I even thought about yesterday. I was driving away from the boat ramp, and I was like, what? I didn't take any pictures today. You get kind of just so caught up in what you're doing. It's sometimes even hard to take pictures at the end of the day. But
it's hard. It's hard to. That's why, man. It's. I have a lot of respect for people that shoot videos constantly too. That's a lot of work, and you got to sacrifice a lot of time and stuff to get all that effort to get all the videos and stuff. Hey, Joe Pretenza hit us with a fishing report. Georgia water temp is 62 and the shad are deep. When it gets to 58 to 60, the shad will lift up, and so will those speckled perch. Then it's on. He's after those big old black crappie, old ninja. Yes, sir. I bet he's chomping at the bit, ready to beat them fish up.
Like I said, I went to an oxbow lake this week, and I think there's a couple of different techniques, and I have a grant actually asking about going long lining this weekend, and I look for these areas that have these shad balls that are tight. And yesterday I didn't see that on the water, the areas I was at. And I just kind of moved back and started really just picking off these suspended fish. And really for the first hour or two, we changed up baits pretty much nonstop. I went from, a 2-inch, just regular baby shad to a itty bit. And the fish were really noticeable, but they really weren't all that interested in it. And honestly, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I caught them on a 4-inch bait yesterday, which is very unusual. It was one of the last baits because I just still wasn't getting the reaction that I wanted to. And we talk about sizes and profiles of baits all the time. But this is a bait that I really don't use a lot. And it was really a bass bait that I use when I would go to Grenada Lake in the spring. We'd use these big 3 and 4-inch baits to try to attract crappie up there. But I used a 4-inch bait yesterday and actually caught fish on them. And that was the only bait they would really look at and decipher and come up and attack. And, most of them were, 12-inch fish. So it wasn't like all 2-pounders, anything else. So even these 1.25 pound, pound 40 fish, they wanted that bigger profile yesterday.
Wow.
And it made a really unique day by using that big style of a bait, a 4-inch bait. Now, the problem is
that's
4-inch. They wouldn't really even pay attention to the slab hunter 2.5 and 2.25 or anything else. They wanted a very long, skinny bait,
and great.
Just kept throwing the sink at them. And that's what I think that I want people to kind of realize is when you get out there and you're not getting the bites that you think that's available, keep changing up these profiles of these baits. And like I said yesterday, I pretty much dug through everything I had, changed up profiles, colors, kept on. It looked like somebody threw up a Bobby Garland tackle box up front of my boat because I changed over baits and colors so much. And I was like, man, let's just try it. This is a bigger bait. I know it's fall. I know they like bigger baits. And bam, as soon as it was 6 or 7 fish suspended, I'm going to say 20 feet from me. And we're casting to them, letting the baits come by them. And as soon as I threw that big 4-inch bait by them, I seen 2 fish arc up, look at it, and both of them come up to attack it. And one got it before the other. And I was like, man, that's it right there.
Yeah, that's a good feeling when that works.
Yeah, and that's what, when you see 2 fish coming for the single bait, that's when I feel like I've got something going on. And the first cast, I felt like, yeah, all right, we've finally got something going here. And it wound up working really well as well. But awesome. Definitely keep throwing that sink at them.
Yeah. Hey, we got some good fishing reports coming in. Ken said that the fish are wired shut. Their jaws are wired shut on Hudson and Ulaga the last couple of days. And I know somebody's going to put a Hudson fishing report on here. Brandon Thomas is always beating him up at Hudson. So Ken came to Hudson, I think, yesterday. And he said he found a few Roman fish, but they were just lockjawed and had a hard time. So what are they doing at Hudson? Because I know he's out there about every day. And then Pat Robbins, I don't know if he's asking you, Brad, or me, but he said, I know you talked about it last week, and remember you saying he knew it was 6-pound test, but what kind of line did you say, mono, he can't find any 6-pound line, everybody is out of stock? And how close are your rod tips to the water? That would be you then. So what 6-pound line do you use?
Actually, I'm using a couple different ones, but probably tried and true, and I actually have some on my counter here, is a Sulfex.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got with Superior Sulfex High Vis 6-pound is just a really good all around line, no matter if I'm casting for them or long lining. But if you're talking just about long lining, I'm going to use that bait right there to long line with. And as far as pound test and such.
Cigar, and Suffolk is my favorite lighter mono as well. Brandon said Lake Hudson was good. November fishing for me last couple of days. Water temp 57.5. Fish were holding on channel legends 16 to 20 foot. If you're in the river, lay downs in 10 foot of water. That's awesome, Brandon. I told you he was going to hit up the Hudson. There you go, Ken.
I go. Chad Rogers saying bigger fish are in 5 to 6 foot of water on Enid this past Saturday, but really fish were scattered everywhere. And that's kind of what I heard with Enid. Now, I'm not sure where those bigger weights come from. And I think it took a little over 12.5 pounds to win that tournament from Magnolia Crappie Club last weekend on Enid, which is a strong weight for sure for Enid.
Yeah.
In the fall. But bigger fish out shallow. Those core lakes, they just operate different. I don't know what it is about those flood control lakes. Those fish are just wired different up there, seems like to me.
Another fishing report. I'm probably Torch Tyndall.
Yeah,
larger fish, long lining in 12 to 16 foot of water, suspended 18 to 26 foot deep. Bobby Garland mayfly was on fire. Ooh, good little selection of bait there. Ain't heard of it since the spring, so it's just something like you just said, going through the tackle box and using something kind of off the wall this time of year can definitely work. And another good question about your 4-inch bait. Somebody said, what size hook were you using? I'm going to guess an 1/8 ounce.
Yeah, I was using 1/8. And honestly, I think I could have got away with a 3/16 or something even bigger. The only problem I had using a 4-inch bait, and I don't know how all the way to correct it yet, is something that I want to play with some more. Is that bait being so long, I need a longer shank. We would miss fish because they wouldn't hit it all the way to the front.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I could have had a longer shank hook, we would probably had a few more hookups because, I mean, they would slam them.
That's crazy.
But it was hard for them to get that big of a bait enough to the hook.
Yeah.
So I still got to play around with some hooks and jig sizes to really fine tune that. But, the biggest thing I would say about that is that persistence, just not to give up. And, whether you fish in tournaments or guiding like Dustin and I both do, is that mindset is you can't give up because that's what people are paying us to get in the boat. And they're like, if it gives up, I know it's terrible.
And I cannot tell you how many times that has turned out to be rewarding, as in you are sitting there struggling, and then by the last hour of the trip, you just happen to run into something that if you weren't trying very hard and just give it up, you would have never seen. I've had a lot of trips like that. I don't know about you, Brad, but you're just on the brink of giving up, and you run into the right pattern, and you're like, holy crap. These clients have no clue how lucky we are to catch these limits of fish when I thought we were getting ready to go home with 10, 15 fish,
Mm-hmm.
So I've ran into those days several times and just pulled it off by just not giving up and figuring, not taking no for an answer.
I honestly think, and I hope we get some colder weather down here to get these fish huddled up more. What I've kind of seen in my fish report for this week is I see a lot of fish scattered. Longline is real good when it comes to scattered fish for sure, but I think as this water gets colder, these fish are going to start grouping together tighter in schools, and that's when I can sit back and actually cast to them or single pole to them better.
That's kind of what I'm trying to wait for as well.
Longlining over there on these scattered fish has been really, really good because you can see fish from that one depth of water. Pretty much what I seen was, I'm going to say about 16 foot of water on out to 20, 25 or whatever where the big concentration of fish were holding. But they were everywhere in that depth range, scattered from 13 foot deep all the way to 18 foot deep. But as that water gets colder, they're going to start schooling up tighter. And I think the fishing is just going to get even better in the next month or so for us around here. So I'm actually looking forward to these a little bit colder temperatures, not those bone chilling temperatures yet, but let's see if we got any more today's bite fishing reports. And I'm gonna let you guys in on what I was kind of telling you about. I got a little special for you guys, but make sure I catch anything. Buck, he's asking me, do I ever use scent on long line? And also, do you think wind direction affects the bite? Wind direction, it can affect a couple things. The slap of the boat, as we know, special life sonar, any kind of slap on the boat spooks fish. Those fish, if they're 10 foot or deeper, really the slapping of the boat as far as long line really hasn't hurt me in the past. But if fish are really high up in the water column, I'm going to try to go with the wind so I can keep down on that boat slap. But if they're deeper than 10 foot and plus, I really hadn't ever worried about it. Very few times that I thought that the fish really were affected by the wind when it comes along running. I've seen days where wind was about to bring waves over the boat and the fish were just absolutely snapping. But I also kind of think on the same line that some of these fish in some of these lakes don't like those big wind and big waves. They'll get out of these big waves to kind of, I guess, live in a little bit nicer environment to say. But I always noticed on Lake Washington, and like I said, I'm not fishing it as much as I used to, but if I could find an area that wasn't getting beat up by wind and waves, I had better success. Now, Sardis and some of those other core lakes, we would get out in the middle and still pull in these cooler months from, I'm gonna say, October to March even, and catch them out in the big waves, and it really didn't affect them. So I kind of think it's almost a lake by lake preference.
Yeah, agreed. I also think the wind will determine what areas I'm going to fish more than it does maybe bother the fish. But it seems like some areas will get more fired up with the wind blowing into a brush pile, as far as then you get into a bowl where there's no wind. It seems like the fish are a lot more fired up and aggressive in a little bit of wind than it is just slick, calm wind.
It's kind of like it's just no perfect scenario that fits every lake and every given time. And that's what's so special about crappie fishing to me is nothing's going to work completely in every lake in every situation either.
That goes into the question Brett Walls asked. He said, when they short strike, do you use a bigger bait or a smaller bait? And that can go into each time being different. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going smaller, just so when they come up to hit it, there's a little bit less of a gap between the hook and the jig, and it's easier for them to get in. So when they come up and touch it, the hook's right there. So I like to go with a smaller hook, but some days you put a bigger one on and they just will inhale it harder. They'll come up and hit it a little bit more aggressive. So it just depends. Definitely try both if one doesn't work, but I'd start with small probably.
Yeah, I mean, those 4-inch through the years and probably last 5 years, I can count on my hand how many times I've used that big a bait.
I was gonna say, man, I've never
not very often.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I've seen somebody, and I'm gonna move on into this subject so I don't forget. And we got another guest coming on here in a little bit. But we talked about pulling crankbaits back in the summertime, and that's really a good prime time to pull them. And people are still pulling them, catching them fish, even around here right now. But there is a Black Friday sale going on right now on Lure Net, and I'm gonna give you actually a link in the screen here.
Yeah,
these Bandit 300 Bobby Garland colors are right now $4 a piece. And if you've ever bought crankbaits, you know right there $4 a crankbait is an absolute bargain. This is a Black Friday sale that I hope you guys, hopefully the guys watching and want to pull crankbaits and have pulled them in the past will jump on this deal, because that is a deal if there's ever been a deal on a Bandit 300.
That's a fact.
These are the Bobby Garland colors, so make sure you go use, I think it's 6 colors, and I've got a couple of them still on my desk.
There you guys can go to the comments there and click on that website, and it'll take you right to it.
I've got that link sitting up there for you guys.
Those are bad.
Also, another thing about that is at the end of it, and I'm not sure if it's going to work on these Bandit 300 as far as the Bobby Garland colors or not, but I would try it if I was you guys, that 15% off. So you might even get an additional 15% off by using the discount code Crappie Connection 15.
Man, that ain't right.
That right there, I'm telling you, that people stand in line for TVs and computers, us crappie fishermen that's ever pulled crankbaits, this is your Black Friday deal that you want to jump on as soon as you can.
For sure.
If you ever even thought about pulling crankbaits, you better jump on this deal. They're not going to last forever. I just come across it today, talked to those guys at Bobby Garland and Bandit, and they said, yeah, put it out there tonight, see if your viewers want them. But it's live, ready to buy them right now. Use the Crappie Connection 15 code. I don't know if it's going to get you additional 15% off, but key it in there. That way they know you actually come from us anyway. So, and it might even give you another 15% off. But
yeah, for sure.
Great.
Guys, these bad boys ain't just a crappie killer. Here at Grand, you can kill the sand bass and white bass with them as well, and largemouth. But they're all around stud little bait, and you can work them good and kill the fish with them. So don't hesitate to grab you a couple of those.
Okay. Make sure I catch up
Yeah.
the thing.
Scott Allen, that's what I just said. He said get extra because those crankbaits catch about everything, and that's a fact. The crankbait is a killer bait for several fish, so it's kind of cool that this series that they just did has colors you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. So that's always a bonus as well.
And this, like I said, these are only on the Bobby Garland colors that they did. The purple monkey, monkey milk, Cajun cricket, electric chicken, pink eye. I believe that's all the colors that they've got in the Bobby Garland right now. But this is a Black Friday sale for you guys that we're going to go ahead and offer a little bit earlier. And like I said, if you ever thought about pulling crankbaits, I would jump on this one.
For sure.
Let's see. I got Travis. You want to read that fish report? I'm gonna leave this on the deal on the thing.
It skipped me. You're gonna have to read it, brother.
Okay.
Oh, you put it on the deal? Hang on now. I always like Travis's fishing reports. Let this load up here.
Let's see.
Go ahead. You're gonna have to read it.
All right. See, part of mine's out there as well. He's fishing South Central Oklahoma Sunday. Water temperature 57 degrees. Found him in near the dam. 20 to 24 foot of water, anywhere from 12 to 18 foot down. Some ramen, some on structure, finicky bite. But they're still plumb full of shad.
That's about right here too.
Look like tennis balls. That's called a 249 and 235.
Woo wee! Those are big ones there. Heck yeah.
We got coming on here in a second here. I'm gonna put the comments back down on the Bandit 300, but make sure you guys take quite advantage of that one here. Let's see. I got Daniel White of Crappie Forever coming on here in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about the Crappie Habitat Day that's going on Grenada Lake here in a couple weeks that those guys definitely got involved with, and we'll talk all about it.
I've seen some posts on that bad boy. Patrick Stone actually said that, and they had a picture of last year's turnout, and it was unreal. So that would be cool.
Got Josh Bulware. Fish have moved up.
There he is. From
their prior pattern, moved up in the creek towards the channel, towards the creeks, 11 foot of water. Fish suspended using Power Crappie Ghost Ride, 1/8, pink head, tipped with a minnow. Fished 20 minutes for what I thought was a 3-pound giant, and it ended up being a 290. A 290. You might as well just go ahead and call that a 3. I mean, let's admit it.
Fishermen, we would have done rounded that thing.
I mean, let's just admit it.
I would have dropped a weight in it or something. Oh man, yeah, that was an awesome fishing trip. I got that report here earlier, but I'm glad he put it on there. That old Ghost Rod is a no joke fishing pole. He swung it in the boat flipped it, a 290. So that shows you what that 15-footer can do.
I got also see Justin Spillman. He's telling us about they have a youth division crappie tournaments coming up this year, and I'll try to post some of that stuff up.
That's awesome.
Just for you. So if you got any kids that's wanting to get into crappie fishing, definitely look up those guys. I'm sure they'd love to have as many kids come as possible, and I'd like to even give me a shout when I can even hook up some giveaways for those kids. I like that kind of deal.
Scott Allen said, if I catch a 290, it's called a 3-pounder for sure. I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
Ken's asking me about I think the rain's going to hinder or hurt the crappie fishing on the Barnett. Honestly, which I don't think we're going to get enough rain to matter, but I think it actually would help it. In my mind, in my opinion, I like kerning, especially in the winter, to really position these fish, concentrate them more. So current, I would like some more current in the lake. So I think it would actually help it.
Sweet. Yeah. I seen somebody ask about a cold front too. If it was a big enough cold front to bother, he was trying to go Saturday, I believe, for long lining.
Yeah.
Or pulling. And asked if it was a big enough front to mess with it.
No.
And I don't think it's going to be a big enough front. I think you're going to be good, buddy.
No, I don't think so either. try to make sure I get any kind of reports. I don't want to forget anybody that's taking the time to key those in.
Kevin Cluck said, got a report, but it's not fishing. All the bucks have disappeared since last week. Been watching yearlings every day. Kevin, I can tell you what happened, brother. It just so happens this is right in my wheelhouse. What happens is it sounds like the rut is going on, and what's happened is the mature does have been locked down with a buck, and the yearlings are running around with the chicken and their head cut off because their mom's gone and trying to run away from this buck. So you're seeing the yearlings, but it's just a matter of time before the buck and doe slip up and come by you. So hang in there, buddy.
I got Buck. He's asking about the scent. Do I ever use scent when long line? Typically, Buck, I do not use a lot of scent when I pull jigs. There have been occasions I'm like, what will it hurt? I'm gonna put some scent on there,
Yeah.
and it has made differences, but just not very often. I really feel like long line jig is just such a reaction strike, and these fish are going to follow them and they're going to commit or they're not, and that's why you're wanting to cover that much water and pull that many baits at once, is just to get those reaction strikes. And you're gonna make a trolling path and come back through them, and maybe next time we come back over them they'll hit it. But if you can put a little piece of scent on there, by all means, it can't hurt anything. So give it a shot.
Grant Staton said he's going Friday armed to the teeth with the strollers. I like it. And then Dustin Shields asked, how was Eagle Lake? And Dustin, I can tell you right now, they've been plowing them on Eagle Lake. I've been seeing a few posts. It looks like Eagle Lake's on fire, but Brad knows more than I do about that lake.
Yeah, I think it's been good over there. I think it's been real good. I think that, like I said earlier, I think a little bit of cold weather is going to help the fishing out, and pretty much all these lakes around here for me. I like these current. I like the little bit cooler temperature. Also, the same thing. I see Evan Bear. I'm gonna get to you, Evan. But let me go back there. My long lining video will be out this Friday that I shot with my wife. I guess about 2 weeks on long lining on Eagle Lake. So I'll kind of give you some pretty current fishing report from Eagle Lake from me actually fishing it a couple weeks ago. So just a little, and I wasn't using 4-inch there. I wish I actually would have put that bait on that day when I was long lining.
Yeah, I bet, just to see what was up.
Just to see. It was. I really don't ever hardly use a 4-inch bait.
I was gonna say, it's probably making you be like, man, I wonder all these times if I use this thing.
I got a good question I like a lot. Michael Drake, he's showing, it's from YouTube, so Dustin can't see it unless I put it on the screen there. But question on waypoints: do you list how tall brush is from bottom?
Oh,
and
wow.
Michael, this is probably one of my favorite things about waypoints and crappie fishing, and a lot of guys that's been in my boat and seen my waypoints and how I kind of manage them. And you've got to really manage your waypoints. And what I mean by that, on stumps and different depths and different features of stumps, even, I have different icons that mean different things. For example, in my boat, if you ever get in my boat and you see me heading to a gold spot, that's one of my honey holes. That's one of my favorite spots.
I wouldn't be giving that up. People are going to get on.
Well, they have to get on my boat to see that. So, don't be stealing no units or nothing there. Don't get no crazy ideas or anything. But gold waypoints on my boat are really good spots, and that's going to be in that really 12 foot of water generally. Shallow waypoints are a different color. It's going to be a red waypoint. Deep brush piles, deep stumps, and I'm talking for me 15 plus, are going to be blue. So I have kind of like a color system when it comes to waypoints to be able to identify what I'm looking at when it comes to waypoints. So yes, waypoints, listen them, the features of them and different things. Just come up with some kind of system that you have for yourself that works. And what's kind of crazy to me, and I guess I could go back and change it, but I got about 4,000 something waypoints on my units. But have you an icon that means certain things?
We're definitely complete opposites. You're the guy that wakes up and fixes his bed in the morning. I'm
No.
I'm the one that leaves the covers on the ground. I will mark. I guess I do two different things. Like I will mark a stump and a brush pile different. But other than the depth and all that, man, I never do ever pay attention to any of that. That's crazy.
I love it. I love it. I love being able to look at the unit.
Taking it. You got it arranged, man. You have it all neat and tidied in. You want to go?
No, I really don't. But just waypoints is something so critical to me because, you know, I can look back at the map and say, all right, I'm really pounding them on my green waypoints. And I know all those different green waypoints that I got are really similar to each one.
Yeah.
So I guess should go to a different part of the lake to really capitalize.
Maybe the older you get, maybe you start to forget spots. So then you have to go on.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's the part of the fun even with it to me is having that little system. And like I said in the beginning, which if I could go back and change it, I would now, but I'm 4,000 waypoints deep, so I can't do it all there. Too lazy. But a dive symbol on my units have a certain meaning. Grass symbols mean something different. So you can have any kind of symbols that list different features.
That's great.
And like a lake like Ross Barnett, the water's been really low, and I've noticed a couple stumps that I haven't seen in, I don't know, 10 years right now. The lake's so low. But I'm able to go out there now and mark them with, I do a crossbone. I go through it and actually mark a crossbone and highlight it on as a waypoint. So if I'm running and the lake's up, I can actually see those hazards in the lake and dodge them.
Fair enough.
So waypoint management is huge.
I guess I try to get so connected with the lake that I'll be like, I've got my waypoints, some of them, but I'll run certain areas. And then when I see one, like if I find, okay, these crappie are 15 foot on this brush pile, I'm like, oh, I've got an idea for the next couple spots, because I remember where they're at. But one day that will probably come by to bite me in the butt. And sometimes you ever get back to the boat ramp, though, and you're cleaning the fish and you're just brainstorming. You're like, oh, that one on that point, I could have went there, and I bet we would have wrecked them. I should have checked it.
Waypoint management.
That does get me a lot.
Waypoint management.
Yep. Waypoint management. I like it. You need a little class for that. You need to have like a little class. Go live and do the waypoint management class.
That's always been a big pet peeve of mine. I don't know. I love that subject.
I'll tell you who has more waypoints though than I've ever imagined is Ken. He will waypoint if he sees a dragonfly land on the dang. He may have the whole lake waypointed, but by golly, he's got it. You look on that screen, you're like, oh my gosh, where do we start? Every boat ramp on the lake, he's waypointed it.
Somebody else said that discount code's actually working still. So use the Crappie Connection 15 discount code, and it sounds like a heck of a deal going on.
That is a heck of a deal. Yeah. Tom, thanks for going on there and getting it. And I bet you them bad boys disappear pretty quick when that word does get out, though, really, because there was only a limited number of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not like an endless number. This is like a Black Friday savings kind of thing. If you ever thought about pulling crankbaits, I'd go drop about $200 and get them real quick because they're not going to last.
I guarantee it.
Let me see. I wanted to get Evan. He actually texted me this afternoon and said he had a great day on the reservoir, which I like hearing these reservoir reports because I hadn't been out there in a couple of days. He said he busted them really good on the res day. He's asking about the rain, but I seen earlier he said he was catching them in the river channel on deep brush, with itty bits and the hair jigs was a good combination for him. Another good reservoir report. Sounds like they're in that same pattern they kind of been holding that to me. Mm-hmm. With some current, those fish are liable to really turn on. You think the res is on fire? Put some current in it right now. Make sure I ain't getting nobody else. I got Daniel ready to come on board, and we're going to hear about some Grenada Lake Habitat Day here.
Heck yeah. A little crappie habitat. Maybe.
I was looking at Tony Van Norman. He says have to be real careful with your grass because Brad would steal them.
Yeah.
There he is. Mr.
Hey,
Danny
guys.
White, Crappie Forever. What's going on, man?
No, not much. How are y'all doing?
There he
Pretty
is.
good. I kind of want to get you on here tonight, and I know we got some special things coming up with Habitat Day with the Corps, and I want to kind of let you take over the floor and tell everybody about that event and how Crappie Forever is getting involved, and what's the game plan to say.
Well, they've been doing this for a good many years, from what I understand, but it's really growing. Patrick Stone got us involved up in Grenada, and December 2nd, we're going to have a Habitat Day. We are one of the sponsors. We've bought a trailer load, and I mean an 18-wheeler trailer load of stakes to make stake beds. They have last year, piles of cedar trees.
I've seen
and
some
weights
pictures.
and ropes. I bet we
Crazy.
made 100+ brush piles last year. It was really awesome. The lake's real low this time of year, so we can use all the help we can get. Bring a side-by-side or four-wheeler. This is not boat. You can drive everywhere on the lake that we're putting all these things with an ATV and they'll have everything you need. They do a really good job. They serve you breakfast, serve you lunch. There's door prizes. It's a really cool thing. Last year was my first year to go. I hope we had a really good crowd, and I hope we can double that this year.
You know, you think about habitat, and I kind of want you to tell everybody why you think that habitat in Grenada Lake is so important.
Okay, on the low water years, which we've had the last few years at Grenada, last two for sure, if the water doesn't get up in the trees and the crappie spawn, there's nowhere for the fry to hide, in a short version here. Because Grenada is a lot of stumps or stand-up trees, but there's not a lot of brush piles in Grenada. So this is, obviously you can fish them, these spots, and once you make these stake beds, but this is really to support the spawn in the spring, to help as many fry make it as they can, and to help as many females and males do their spawning and have some cover to hide from predators and from fishermen.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Lord knows Grenada needs a little bit of cover from fishermen sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
I wish they'd close like half of the lake off for a year or two.
Well, it's I don't know if it's closed yet, but it's closed most of the winter.
Yeah,
just because of low water. But it's been low all year, and this habitat is very important. Very important to get a good spawn, so that Grenada can keep up with the pressure it gets, and keep producing these great fish that everybody loves to go to Grenada for.
Mm-hmm.
I think about.
Can you fish it at all during the winter when it's down like that?
No,
Can you pull a kayak
if it
or
gets
anything?
too low, there won't be a boat ramp in the water.
Gotcha. I was wondering
you
if
can
they
go to Grenada Landing, and the water will be 100 yards, 200 yards,
Gotcha.
300 yards from the landing.
I figured there'd still be guys with kayaks and stuff pulling them into the lakes.
Well, I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I
live here on Barnett.
I'd live scope rig me a kayak and be floating out there whacking the fish.
You think of this and the benefits of somebody going up there and actually doing it. One is you're going to help out the lake more than you can ever do.
Yeah.
But also it's going to give you a chance to learn that lake.
Oh,
We always talk about different contours on Grenada, these little ditches and these little minute changes in the lake, these brush piles or stumps. You're going to see things that you'll never see inside of a boat if you're out there, especially during that habitat day. You'll see some of these guys' honey holes because they're going to be exposed.
It's amazing.
Make your own.
What I learned last year, riding around, and all the little ditches, just the little drains that are so hard to pick up on your graphs.
Exactly.
It was really cool. It's a lot of fun. who doesn't like to go play in the mud this time of year? I mean, it was a lot of fun. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast.
And those fish, even though they're little bitty ditches, like you're saying, those fish know they're there and like to sit in them as well.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, that's always been a key, definitely at Grenada. But like I said, the thing is, you get to go up there, you meet a lot of different crappie fishermen, get to meet the guys for Crappie Forever. I would love to be there. Actually, I'm going on a little hunt myself, so I won't be in town for that.
Whoa.
But I would love to actually go to that because I think of meeting different crappie fishermen, kind of that network of and meeting, guys that have the same interests. That's the perfect place to go meet some different people.
Sure.
Get to learn the lake.
It has a heck of a
you
turnout.
Can't do.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll have even a bigger turnout, and some of the people that's watching tonight even get a chance to go over there and help you guys out with it. And I wish we'd have more of these habitat days in all these lakes, not just Grenada. I think that
the only thing that might bring me to this is a pretty long drive for me, but if there's like a free meal somewhere and like food or anything, is there any good meal? Is somebody
there's
cooking?
a great there's a breakfast. There's breakfast right when you get there, and then there's a big lunch at the end.
Oh my god!
And last year, I don't know what and if you're there, you get basically a little ticket, a raffle ticket, a door prize ticket. Last year there was a gun, a lot of
what the
fun
heck?
stuff. Oh yeah, there are great door prizes. The community really gets behind this. It's a great event. I can't just. It's a great thing. I'm lucky that we're involved. It's really cool.
The food.
I'm gonna try to get you some of our hoodies to take up there with you, Daniel. We'll give those away, some door prizes as well to some of the guys that's participating. It's so important, especially that lake's getting so much pressure, and the better the hatch, the better the offspring, the more crappie will be catching in the future for everybody. So I think it's a wonderful thing. And another thing that we're talking about, habitat and Crappie Forever, and even Daniel and I talked a little bit this afternoon about it. But last week it was pretty much, I haven't heard from the main biologist yet, but I was told that they actually stocked Lake Washington last week.
Whoa!
The Department of Wildlife, and they told us back in July, Daniel, right? That they were going to do this. They told us they were going to go stock Lake Washington, and they have done it.
What size fish?
Well, the fish were hatched in the spring, so I would guesstimate probably 2 inch or so, 2 to 3 inch.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 inch.
I could probably get a flay off of them. I'll head that way.
Well, that's against the law, so you can't do
that. That is true.
Yeah,
that's true.
They've got the dang limit on there now, huh?
Well, it's probably the last 10 years has had to be over 11 inches to be a keeper on that lake.
Gotcha.
But the very interesting thing to me that I heard and was told was that it's going to be black crappie, that they stock mainly black crappie or just about all black crappie in this round. And anybody that's ever fished Lake Washington, there's very few of us can say they've actually caught keeper black crappie on that lake because they just really ain't ever, I'd say probably less than 5% through the years being black crappie. And
that makes me wonder a little bit, because isn't black crappie like what you'd want to put in a pond because they don't spawn as prolific as white crappie, or am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Got you.
That's wrong for sure. And Daniel and I were talking about when you think of Florida, and I didn't think about it until Daniel even brought it up, but you think of Florida with all those giant black crappie in there and being that shallow lake, and that's kind of when I was like, man, that's kind of a shallow lake, and I wonder how those fish survive. But man, they do in Florida fine.
No, that's a fact, yeah. And I mean, yeah, I just was wondering numbers-wise if white crappie spawned more than black crappie numbers-wise, like if they had bigger hatch.
I don't believe so. I mean, you go to a lot of these black crappie lakes, and there are hundreds and thousands on piles.
I can see that. That's true. Good point.
And so, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that turns out. And they'll be able to track it really fast, in my mind. If people start catching black crappie, I can tell you from my experience, that's not naturally occurring in that lake for the most part. So I think you'll be able to really tell by what we see in
Oh yeah.
really 2 years from now. I don't know about keeping
That's another
some.
thing. That's another thing. What you catch, like if it's black crappie, you normally never caught black crappie, so those will
Right.
be those. Yeah, that'll be
That's right.
That's crazy. That'll be awesome.
And I asked them about if they were going to change regulations, and it was hinted to me that they were, but it's not officially done yet. I kind of feel like if they're going to spend the money and the effort to go through all that process of hatch them in a hatchery and then ship them over there and doing all these different studies they've done. And he actually told me they were going to do their net studies again this wintertime at Lake Washington to kind of stay on track of it to even to where it is today. So they're putting a lot of resources and time over there on Lake Washington.
Do you have a number that they put in? So Pat just asked if you know how much they put in there.
Yeah, when that question was asked about that, he said, we're going to put in there whatever they got. They're not going to hold back a single crappie. Yeah. They're going to put in their complete hatch. And, I don't have even an idea how many that would be.
Mm-hmm. And I think it just so happened that the black crappie hatched better than the white crappie at their hatchery this year, and that's why there's a lot of black crappie in there.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows that for me in my mind, and hopefully for everybody across the country too, is get involved with your wildlife departments and tell them what you're seeing and trust in them and keeping the word and keeping the word fresh out there in the public, saying, hey, this lake's kind of hurt and we need to do different things. And organization like Crappie Forever, that's kind of what you guys are built around, Daniel. And that's why I seen the name and I was like, I got to figure out what these guys are about. And once we kind of talked, we're like, that's what our future is going to be, is saving crappie and having crappie management. I still catch a lot of fish and I love eating crappie and I always love eating crappie. But on these lakes that they're hurting, hey, let's do some different management practices to help them out and habitat. And
yeah, every lake is different. Some lakes need fish out of them. Some need it
exactly.
in. I mean, it's just, we're just here to do whatever that needs to be done. Habitat, just whatever helps. Helps the crappie industry, helps the lakes, and just to help grow the sport.
Yeah, I know David's asking about so where to find crappie in November. I kind of touched on that in the beginning, David. But it kind of depends on, for me, and Daniel, I know you're a crappie fisherman too, so
oh yeah,
I'm gonna ask you a question. Where do you find crappie in November? I kind of talked about it. Dustin's kind of talked about it, and I know you weren't prepared for that question. So
that's okay. Well, I fish Ross Barnett a lot, like you do, and this really starts my fishing season. I don't like the hot months. I like the cold months. The fish are getting bigger, fatter. I start finding them as we start getting these nights where they're in the 30s and 40s. I'll start finding them closer to deep water in the river channels. And I don't know if y'all covered this or not, but here at Ross Barnett, they tend to migrate north in the main lake a pretty good bit. So I'll start inching up the main lake a pretty good bit, and just follow them. I like it. There's a lot of roaming crappie this time of year. If you like to do that, if you want to chase down some fish, I just find the bites better. It just heats up. You can use bigger baits the colder it gets. It's not like that every day, but this is prime time now. From now till end of April, I'm fishing every day I can, for sure.
Yeah.
How much do you think how much do you get to fish normally now?
Not nearly as much as I want to.
That's always
it really depends on work and stuff. I own 2 other companies. If I have time, I go. But I'll be fishing a pretty good bit. I don't hunt very much anymore, so
man,
most of my weekends in the wintertime will be fishing.
Hunting crappie. Got you.
Over Christmas and Thanksgiving for sure. You go out there, the day after Thanksgiving in Mississippi, and there won't be very many people out there. You'll have the lake to yourself. That's prime time hunting.
That's a good point.
Billy's asking,
if there's a link to the Grenada event.
I don't think there is a link. It's put on by the Grenada Lake Corps of Engineers.
What boat ramp?
You'll see more information come out if you follow Crappie Forever. It'll be on our website and all our social media. If you follow Patrick Stone Fishing, he'll be posting it. It's December 2nd. We usually meet just pretty early in the morning, right after daylight. I don't know exactly what time yet, but if you'll just keep checking our pages, and we'll be putting out all the information. What boat ramp you will need.
We'll put it back on here on the
side-by-side.
Facebook side of things on Crappie Connection as well.
Awesome.
That way you guys kind of keep track of it as well. I think I did one share of it already, but as it gets closer and up to it is more, we'll do keep getting that information out for you guys. And like I said, I seen somebody mention earlier, bring a handheld GPS unit, go out there, find you some honey holes, make your own. That's pretty much what they let you do, correct?
Hey, drive you a ditch witch out there and dig your own ditch. It's
a little muddy out there, which is fun. Riding around, you tie up to a pile of cedar trees, weave a rope in them, tie it to your side by side, and haul butt down the road, and just find you a spot. And they'll be stationed all over the upper lake. There's plenty of help out there. Lots of people help you. We can use everybody. Bring a hammer, come drive some stakes, make some stake beds. You can make a stake bed anywhere you want.
That's awesome.
A T-post driver, that's whenever I'm driving stake beds. A T-post driver, if you ever use one of those, now you got to kind of dusting up on it and get them down in the ground. But if you can use the T-post driver, you can really drive them suckers down there really well.
That's for sure. But there'll be lots of kids there. Bring your kids, let them come play in the mud, put the rubber boots on. It's a great time. I promise you'll have fun, and you will do a great thing. And we won't turn anybody away.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming on this week. Like I said, we're inching close to the 10K Crappie Connection, 120 subscribers away. So any of your folks, if you're watching this, share these lives any way you can. Get the word out for Crappie Connection. We're inching up to 10K. I cannot wait to get there. And I'm trying to figure out some giveaways to do whenever we hit 10K. Don't know yet. So if you got any kind of ideas, hit me up on personal messages.
I'll have ideas. Don't worry. There will be some.
Well, I think Dustin already said something about he was going to jump in the lake on it. So we got one thing. Even maybe shave his mustache a certain way or something.
Oh, I'll shave one side for the next one.
That'll work. I'm going to keep what I got right now. But definitely appreciate everybody coming on every week. Thank you, Daniel. I can't wait to hear more about this event. And maybe afterwards, I want to get you back on here and we'll hear actually how it went. And
that'd be great.
Some different things that we can kind of even plan out. I'd like to do, I see some actually posted it on here right now, but Gabe just did actually. He posted in the comments, guys. So if you can read, let me put it on the screen for everybody to read even across the board. And it might be a little much if you're watching on YouTube, but that's all.
8 a.m. Torrance Landing. Breakfast. You'll be able to see everything.
That's awesome. That'll be a good time. December 2nd.
That's right. So, guys, make sure you attend that. Thank you, everybody, for coming on every week. And
see you next Tuesday.
10K Crappie Connection. One more time for guys. We'll get a good response with that real quick, and we'll let you guys get out of here tonight.
That'll be good.
Till next time, guys. You got Brad Chappell here.
Big Fish Dusty.
Daniel White.
All right, guys. See you next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock.
Thanks, guys.